Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. MMA Cannibal back, and today I'm going through these predictions for the Dawson and Bobby Green fight night cards coming up this weekend or tomorrow as of recording this. And I'm just going to go through, give my picks and predictions. I'm going to go through these ones kind of quick. So I'm just going to hop straight into it. We got Alex Hernandez versus Bill Algeo in the first fight on the main card. This fight is taking place at featherweight. And while I don't think very much of Bill Algeo at all, in fact, I've never heard of him prior to this fight, I remember that the last time Alex Hernandez went to featherweight, he got knocked out by Billy Quarantillo. And I'm not sure if it was that same fight or if it was a previous fight before that where he was cutting to featherweight. But Alex Hernandez is that guy that if you guys have ever seen the clip of a dude talking about how he got erectile dysfunction during his weight cut, that was Alex Hernandez, and that was when he was cutting to featherweight. And
moaning every day, but I was super locked in. But dude, my dick didn't work in the mornings. Like nothing was up. I was like, I was pure. I was just gender X moving through for 3 months. Just
maybe he's getting better at it, but I just don't trust it, especially when the most recent result was a knockout and he bounced up to lightweight after that, and now he's bouncing back down to featherweight. I don't really like this whole bounce back and forth between divisions kind of thing when you aren't winning. Like when Chimaev was doing it and he was going between the two weight classes on like back-to-back weeks notice and he won both of those fights, that's when you were like, oh, Chimaev looks really good. Or like Kevin Holland was able to bounce between fights, and even though he was losing like Vittori's and Brunson's at middleweight, he was at least still winning his welterweight matchups. So it was kind of like 50-50. Alex Hernandez, I don't really like the last couple of fights I've seen from him. Algeo, I don't really have too much of a reason to pick him other than just I don't like Alex Hernandez's history with featherweight and making this cut and going back and forth between lightweight and featherweight. So I'm going to go with a Bill Algeo by decision. I feel like Alex might fade because of the weight cut, or he'll just be a lot chinnier. Not in the sense of he'll give his chin to Bill more, but just in the sense of he'll be hurt a lot easier when Bill does hit him. But outside of that, I could totally see Alex winning this fight still. This one's pretty 50-50 in my mind, just so long as Alex isn't crippled by the weight cut. Moving forward, Drew Dober and Ricky Glenn. I know that Drew Dober is usually, motivated in other ways than what Ricky Glenn will bring to the table, but a quick look through these two guys' records shows me that this should be a layup for Drew Dober, honestly. Like, not to be too hard on Ricky Glenn, but there is just absolutely nothing, like, noteworthy that I've seen. Not in caliber of competition, not really in any stats or performances. I've never heard this name before. He's not ranked. So I just can't really like justify it to myself going any other way than a Giga Chad knockout. He's returning. It'll be the bounce back dub for him. And I don't mind it, I prefer Drew Dober than Ricky Glenn up here, so let's go. Let's get that dub. Featured fight of the card, we have Alex Morono and Joaquin Buckley. This actually looks like a banger of a fight. This one I think could be a really good back and forth. I think the boxing is going to look really nice. I think Buckley needs to really implement his kicks into this one and work on that range with Alex Morono. Don't let Morono kind of make it a dirty fight, I would say. Not that Joaquin won't be able to handle that, but I think it plays a little more to his favor to try and stay on the outside a little bit more and use his timing. On top of trying to stop Alex with whatever power he does have, because Joaquin's been fighting at middleweight for the last couple fights, but now he's cutting down to welterweight for this one. And I do think he'll fill out a lot better at welterweight. I think he's a lot like that Kevin Holland situation where like he's got a really, really good frame for welterweight and okay for middleweight. So like if he just makes the cut, which he can do without draining himself completely, then he'll do really well here. So I think because it's at welterweight, I really like Joaquin there. I think his power might be a little more pronounced too down at welterweight. And Alex Morono is really good. I do really like him as an underdog here if you're going to take one. I really like Morono as an underdog here because I feel like he's one of those guys that always has like a really surprisingly good performance when you kind of don't expect it. Especially like Joaquin Buckley would be a perfect guy to have that against, because it's like this is definitely a guy that everyone's expecting you to lose to, but not everyone that is expecting you to get dominated by. So this is a perfect kind of matchup for Morono to come out and have one of those performances. But at the end of the day, I think Buckley is just going to be a bit more durable. I think he's going to have a good bit of sting on his shots compared to Morono. And I'm going to go with him by a decision. I don't think he's getting finished, but I could honestly see it too. This one's also pretty 50-50 to me. Like on paper, I feel like Joaquin should win, but when I really think about it and I really think about Alex Morono, there's just no way I can count him out for this one. So I'm going with Buckley by a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised. In the co-main event spot, we got Joe Pyfer versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Joe Pyfer, one of the most exciting like contenders to come out of the contender series. Contenders out of the contender series? Yeah, that works. Whatever. To come out of the contender series lately. Has looked really good. Has been performing really well. And, can't really say the same for Al Hassan since he's been in the UFC. I will say, Hassan definitely has that advantage in terms of caliber of competition he's faced, I would argue a bit. He's faced a little bit of some decent middleweights that are there in terms of the unranking and low ranking names and stuff, but he's lost to a few of them. He's won a couple, but he's lost most of them, I think, if I recall correctly. He hasn't looked particularly great. His shorter frame, I don't think, is going to do him any favors here against Joe Pyfer, especially with his tendency to duck like he does. I think Joe will just see that, make his reads, and probably step back, hit him with a nice, powerful counter shot. And I'm going with a first-round knockout here for Joe Pyfer. I think he's going to really come out, make a statement, and show everybody what he's about. And after this fight, he will no longer be like a smaller like middleweight prospect that people don't really know about. I think after this fight, he's really going to be on everyone's radar, and everyone's going to look at him like, oh, he's like 2 fights away from a ranking, maybe 2-3 fights. If he wins this one, especially in an emphatic fashion, like I think he will. So that's my Joe Pyfer prediction. And for the main event, we have Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. I'm not going to lie to you guys. No idea who Grant Dawson was until that Demiraz Magulov fight. And then after watching it, I kind of like weirdly became a fan. There's not really a reason for it. I just all of a sudden am like really hyped to see Grant Dawson fight again. And obviously Bobby Green's always entertaining, so that'll be super dope. I mean, I definitely think Grant Dawson should have gotten a bump up in competition rather than this, but Bobby Green's a little bit of a bigger name than a lot of those lower ranked lightweights. I feel like I do think Bobby Green commands a little bit more than like a Jalen Turner or a Hanato Moicano and stuff. So it's not too bad for him. I would say this is probably a free win for him in a main event spot. So great exposure for Dawson. It'll give him a little bit more of a name and a bump in popularity. So hopefully some of those other ranked guys will be more willing to fight him. And there's just really nothing that I've seen that shows me anything other than Dawson by domination of some sort. I feel like his striking really isn't that bad. I think it's not great, but it's enough to hold up with Bobby Green long enough that he can and will get the takedown. As we saw in the Magulov fight, he's really good at controlling people, and even if he doesn't, I feel like he might not get a sub against Bobby Green because Bobby Green's never been subbed, and he didn't really seem to show a lot of desire to kind of go for one against a guy like Magulov, who I feel like he had him in plenty of positions where he was perfect for it. So, that all being said, I find it really hard to take Dawson by a decision, except for the fact that he dominated Magulov that hard, and it was a 15-minuter. In this one, with an extra 2 rounds, I just feel like there's just no way he doesn't eventually work his way towards something, or because it's a main event, Dawson's going to want to make a statement of some sort and get a finish. So, because of that, I'm going to take Dawson by a TKO. I think it's going to be some sort of ground and pound. I do think it's probably going to come semi-early, probably late second round to like somewhere in the third. I just see his wrestling as being way too much for Bobby Green. You know, I do see it similarly to Green and Islam Makhachev because I kind of compare Dawson and Islam Makhachev a little bit. If you think about it, like he's kind of just the American version of Islam. So those are my picks, you guys. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win. If you think I'm an idiot for some of these picks, if you think I'm a genius for other ones. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. All the support is appreciated. And stay violent.